I managed a boutique hotel in Barcelona when an American couple checked in for their vacation. The husband immediately asked about the business center hours. I told him we closed it at 8 p.m. He looked horrified. What if I need to send emails? I explained that most guests preferred to unwind in the evenings. He said he had to respond to his boss within 2 hours, always. I asked if he was on call. He said no. He worked in marketing. So this is optional? He got defensive. It's called being professional. His wife nodded along. I showed them to their room. Within an hour, he was back downstairs, furious. The Wi-Fi was too slow for video calls. I ran a speed test. It was 100 megabits. He said American internet was faster. I pointed out Spain's average speed matched the US. He insisted I was wrong and demanded a hardwired connection in his room. I explained we didn't offer that. He asked how business travelers managed. I told him they usually disconnected. He looked at me like I'd suggested ritual sacrifice. A tourist in Amsterdam complained, "Our museum closed at 5 p.m. on Fridays." "That's during work hours," she protested. I explained most locals visited on weekends. She said, "Don't Dutch people have hobbies?" A man in Copenhagen asked why our gym opened at 6 a.m. instead of 5. Told him most members arrived after 7. He said that showed lack of ambition. These stories barely scratch the surface of what locals worldwide witness when American work culture collides with the rest of the world. I track these cultural collisions full-time so you don't become the next cautionary tale abroad. If you're someone who'd rather understand how the world actually works, not how your office thinks it should subscribe and keeps you ahead of the next uncomfortable truth, I worked at a ski resort in the Swiss Alps. An American guest booked a week-long stay during peak season. First morning, he showed up to breakfast in a full suit, laptop bag over his shoulder. I asked if he had meetings scheduled. He said no, but he might need to jump on a call. I suggested he enjoy the slopes. Fresh powder had fallen overnight. He waved me off. "I'll ski after I clear my inbox." That was Monday. Tuesday, same suit, same laptop. Wednesday, his wife came down alone. She said he was catching up on work. By Thursday, she was asking about extending their stay because he hadn't actually vacationed yet. I saw him Friday morning, finally in ski gear. He made it to the lift, then got a phone call. Spent 40 minutes outside in negative temperatures talking about quarterly projections. His wife went skiing alone. Saturday, he was back in the suit. Sunday, checkout day. He asked if we offered late departure. I need to finish this presentation before we fly. I asked if his boss demanded this. He looked confused. No, but if I don't, I'll be behind on Monday. He paid for a vacation he never took. Most travelers only notice the scenery. You notice the systems and how they shape people. Subscribers here aren't running from reality. They're studying it. If that's the lane you're in, you already know what to do. A family from Texas stayed at our ryokan in Kyoto. The father requested a desk in their traditional tatami room. We didn't have desks, that wasn't the aesthetic. He asked us to bring a table. We brought a low chabudai for tea. He said he needed it higher for his laptop. I explained the room was designed for floor sitting and relaxation. He said, "I'm not paying this much to sit on the floor." His teenage daughter asked why he was working at all. He said it was just a few emails. She said he'd promised to disconnect. He said this was disconnecting. He wasn't in the office. She stopped talking to him the rest of the trip. On their last day, his wife asked me where she could find a marriage counselor who spoke English. I ran a beachfront restaurant in Tulum. An American woman came in with her laptop, sat at the best ocean view table, and opened her spreadsheets. She ordered coffee and stayed for 4 hours, taking video calls. Other guests asked to sit there. Was sunset time, peak demand. I politely explained we needed the table for dining guests. She said she'd ordered coffee. I said that was 4 hours ago. She got irritated. "I'm working. This is important." I told her we had a co-working space in town, 10 minutes away. She said she wanted the ocean view because it was inspiring. Explained other guests also wanted the view to actually enjoy it. She said they can look at the ocean anytime. I have a deadline. I stood there, dumbstruck. She was at one of Mexico's most beautiful beaches, staring at Excel. When I asked her to move, she left a review saying we were hostile to remote workers. I worked at a cafe in Stockholm. An American regular came in every morning at 7 a.m. during his sabbatical. He'd order coffee and work until noon. One day, I asked what he was working on. He said consulting projects. I asked if that's what sabbaticals meant in America. He explained he was technically off from his main job, but doing freelance work to stay sharp. I mentioned that in Sweden, time off meant actual rest. He laughed. If I did that, I'd lose my edge. I asked what edge. He said the competitive edge in his industry. I asked what industry. Marketing. I asked if marketing required constant labor to maintain skills. He got defensive. You wouldn't understand American work culture. I told him I'd worked in New York for 2 years. He said, "Then you know how it is?" I said yes, which is why I moved back. He stopped coming to our cafe. Probably found somewhere more supportive of the grind. A German colleague told me about an American intern at their company. The intern worked through lunch every day. My colleague invited him to join their team at the canteen. The intern said he was too busy. My colleague said everyone takes lunch, it's mandatory. The intern said, "Mandatory rest? That's so European." My colleague explained that productivity drops without breaks, citing company research. The intern said, "I'm more productive when I push through." Right. My colleague asked how he knew. The intern said, "It felt right." 2 weeks later, the intern made a critical error in a report. My colleague reviewed his schedule. He'd worked 11 days straight without a full break. When they confronted him, he said, "I was trying to impress you." My colleague said, "We're impressed by accuracy, not exhaustion."
The intern seemed genuinely confused.
He'd been taught that visible suffering equaled dedication. I managed a vineyard in Provence. An American couple booked our premium tasting experience. It included a tour, 6 wine pairings, and a sunset dinner. Cost them €800. The husband spent the entire tour on his phone typing emails. Our sommelier was explaining our biodynamic process, something guests usually find fascinating. The husband didn't look up once. His wife apologized repeatedly. During the tasting, he excused himself for a quick call. It lasted 45 minutes. The sommelier was offended. This was a curated experience, timed perfectly with the wines. When the husband returned, the wines had warmed. He complained they didn't taste right. I explained why. He said we should have waited. I said we held his place as long as possible, but wine is temperature sensitive. He demanded a partial refund because he didn't get the full experience, asked whose fault that was. His wife started crying. She said this was their anniversary trip, and he'd promised to unplug. He said, "I'm trying to secure our future." She said, "What future? You're not even here." I worked the front desk at a spa resort in Bali. An American executive booked our 7-day digital detox package. We locked his devices in a safe, gave him a key for emergencies. The package cost $3,000 and included meditation, massage, healthy meals, and nature excursions. Day 1, he seemed anxious but committed. Day 2, he asked for his phone to check something quickly. I reminded him of the program rules. He said it was urgent. I asked if someone died. He said no, but a client might be upset. I said the client could wait a week. He said, "You don't know my industry." I said you paid to escape your industry. Day 3, he tried to bribe a housekeeper to retrieve his laptop. She reported him. I called him into my office. He begged, "Just 1 hour. I'll pay extra." I asked why he came if he couldn't commit. He said his therapist recommended it. I said, "So your therapist knows you need this?" He nodded. "But my boss doesn't know I'm gone." I was stunned. "You told your boss you were working remotely?" He said yes. I asked why he lied. He said taking a week off would make him look weak. Day 5, he had a panic attack. Our on-site doctor examined him. It was stress-related, triggered by withdrawal from constant work stimulation. The doctor explained his body was addicted to cortisol spikes from work urgency. He'd literally trained his nervous system to need professional stress. Day 7, checkout time. He retrieved his phone. I watched his face fall as he scrolled through emails. He looked at me. I thought I'd feel relaxed. I said, "You spent 7 days fighting relaxation." He asked if we offered longer programs. I said yes, 30 days. He laughed bitterly. I could never take 30 days off. I asked why he was laughing. He said, "Because you're right, and I can't change it." The American relationship with work isn't just intense, it's compulsive. If recognizing that complexity is the reason you're still here, subscribe now, because this obsession is changing global culture. I'm just getting started breaking down how smart travelers prepare themselves. Subscribers stay ahead. What other cultures see as vacation, Americans see as pause buttons they're terrified to press. Got stories about Americans who can't stop working abroad? Drop them below.